Well, hello, hello, my silky friends. How are you doing? Whew, it's been a week. It's been a week. Um, yeah, I'm glad to see you though. I know Laura is going to be joining us in just a minute. She's eating dinner, and that's fine. Do you take your time, Laura? Yes, I do like to say my hellos, and I saw that Buckeye put in here something very interesting. Um, Yeah, I want to like look before she gets here. I don't want to, embarrass her or anything, but I want to give a very special shout out to tonight's guest, Laura Thompson, because she has been, we've been discording back and forth this week. I don't know. I got into a real, I don't know, a funky place, and I don't know. I was having a hard time, and I didn't even think I was going to make it tonight. I had been putting this off and off, and I was going to give up tonight too, but I took a little nap and woke up and thought, I can do this. And I'll tell y'all about that more at the end of the stream. So I'm maybe making some changes, but when we get done, I'll talk about that. Um, Right now, let me say hello to Buckeye. And Buckeye says, did you see an article out of Nashville in the last couple of days? Skeletal remains found near Nissan Stadium. Remains were under a tarp in a tent. I did not, and I don't know why, because Buckeye, I subscribe to the Tennessean, and it usually gives me all the info on Nashville. So I have no idea what's going on. Under a tarp in a tent sounds like homeless to me because and there are some camps right there at Nissan Stadium. But also, it makes me worry because there's a lot of missing people, but one specifically that I've talked about several times is Matthew Parasini. Now, they're not sure. They know he got off the bus in Nashville, but then there was some discrepancy. They thought maybe he went all the way to Memphis and disappeared in Memphis. I don't know. But his family, I still see, stuff from them on some Facebook groups. They are desperate to find him. Um, I hope it's not Matthew. I don't know. Of course, and Buckeye says, of course, Nashville said no foul play suspected. Honestly, that's hard to say because if it is skeletal, they're going to have to figure out the age and hopefully they'll be able to do a DNA profile, find out who it was. I mean, there's a lot of homeless. Could it be foul play? Absolutely. It is a very rough and dangerous place. Could it be substance related death? Yes, it could. It could also be, it's not a healthy lifestyle out there, okay? So I don't know, but I didn't see that. If you have a link, I'll try to look it up, but if you have a link, um, I would love to see it. Okay, let's see. Samantha. Hello, Samantha Springman. Whoop whoop. Linda K. How you doing, Linda K? All right. I need to sit out in my yard with bare feet in the grass. It detoxes you. I usually do that. Um, and the reason I haven't is it's so hot. Like, honestly, I think sometime last week, I was just walking from the jail to the parking lot to get in the car to go to lunch, and my skin on my arms it felt like it was burning, like I had it in a hot fire, and I thought, geez, it's not very far to the parking lot. I mean, and I was on fire. So I haven't been going out there. And it's not just the heat. We've had some days that the heat, I mean, if the sun isn't too bad, but the humidity, oh my gosh. And I'm just like, I'm a big outdoors person, though. I love the outdoors. I'm not saying I'm going to go on a 10-mile hike. No, I'm not going to do it. But do I like to just, go out and be out in nature and take short hikes and just, walk around the lake, sit outside, have a picnic, all that? Yes, I love, love, love the outdoors. Just not, I don't want to do a whole lot, you know what I'm saying? Flat Earth, hello, hello, how are you? Alan Coker, hello. I heard Oregon had 100 degrees. Wow, Oregon had 100. Jeez. I wonder what they, I wonder what that's like for them. I can't imagine. Um, oh, okay, so Channel 5 in Nashville covered it. I'll look it up, Buckeye. Um, I've been working on my other channel. Honestly, it's doing way better than this one. If you don't know, look, it's just simple. It's simple. I tell true ghost stories, and now I have so many submissions, I cannot keep up with people. I've got so many videos I need to uh, film. If you like true ghost stories and whatever, this is the name of my other channel, Avalon Cottage. And it didn't even start out this way. It was a fluke. Sorry, I've got fuzz again. It was an absolute fluke that this even happened. I had promised them I wouldn't be gone forever, and I did one video, and it was just like, oh, people loved it. And I haven't worked it in about a year and a half, and then I started in the last 2 weeks, and it's bigger than this one, so I'm not going to stop that one. Hi, what the whoop, whoop, whoop. But y'all know, this is my passion. Advocacy is my passion. The other one is just like a brain, I don't know, it's a brain relaxation to talk about the paranormal stories. I know that's weird. Hello. Oh, you cooked out yesterday, Hiawatha. Oh, see, I had to work. I had to go in and work a partial day in the morning and night, so I didn't cook out. I fried some hamburgers and meh, meh. Um, hey, Yoli Yo. Good to see you. Are you working today, Yoli, or you have the day off? Um, Although it's probably about time for you to leave, I guess. Um, let's see. People from Oregon probably thought they were being cooked. Yeah. Yeah. Jeez, I cannot imagine. I can't imagine that, really. Um, oh, hi, Watha, please email me. And you can email me on at avaloncottage@gmail, or just send it to Silky Southern. I would love to hear your experiences. I would love for you to come and talk about them. I may go live on there sometime. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still deciding what to do. Hello, Just Robin. How are you doing? Good to see y'all. I had so many, avenues to go tonight. And I'm not even sure that the topic, I may change. I didn't even do a thumbnail because I don't know what I've got a lot of things. There's a lot of things. We've got Mica Miller and then some other really devastating, irritating, irritating isn't the word, like it'll make you furious. Some other stuff. And then, narcissistic abuse and the long-term effects on victims, all this. And Laura's going to help me because, Laura knows more about this than I do. I mean, I know a good bit from healthcare, but I mean, I'm not a therapist and I'm not that's not my specialty. Oh, it's hot there in Southern California. And oh, you have the day off. Good. I don't know. It's so hot here. Um, it's so hot that even when I get up in the morning and it's still almost dark, when I take the dog out in the morning, when I have to go to work, I walk out and it's just it's like a steam bath. It's hot. It's hot and humid. Uh, there's never exactly a plan. Yeah, well, I usually have a plan, but I'm going to tell you, I don't tonight because of some of the things I'll talk to you about later. I don't know where I'm going with this channel. I'll just tell you, I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know, and Laura, whenever you take your time, whenever you get ready, just let me know. You should pop up here at the bottom of my screen, so I'll see you. Moonlight rays, woohoo! Yeah, I hope everyone. I hope you had a wonderful Fourth too, and I hope everybody did. It was very noisy here last night, and the jail, they were off their rockers yesterday. So, um, okay, Laura, you just sat down. That's fine. I am going to go to something else. Let's see. I'm going to go over this. I know everybody has covered this particular news article, and that's one of the reasons I didn't, because like y'all see it everywhere. But let me make this bigger, so I'm not going to see your comments for just a second. But there were some things that I did want to go over because it kind of backs up everything else I'm saying. All right, so here's the protest. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It gets crazier every week. Every week. And I never get to see it. Whether I'm working or whether I'm off on Sundays, I'm not here. I'm not here by my TV or anything in the mornings, so I only get to see bits and pieces of it as I'm walking by or whatever. But it's like, wow. So now there are sprinklers. Okay. So, and I know CJ covered this. I know he was there. And then I don't know where the TikTok video by Guru showed, as CJ did, showed the protesters at the church and a person who grabs the sprinkler and sprays them. So if you didn't know, and the protesters were out there, now I'm just going to tell you something. Me and that hot, I would have been begging, put the sprinkler over here. I'll get drenched. I don't care. I would have been like, yeah, thumbs up. But here's the thing, they didn't mean it in a good way. Not like, here's some refreshing water for y'all. No. And I know, I look, some of y'all, I saw the headlines and that's all I saw. I know that there was a caller in to CJ's sometime in the last day or two, whenever that was, that talked about it, and I haven't had time to listen to it yet. All right. Whoop whoop. Say hello to Laura.
Sorry. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure stuff out. So,
you want me to remove you for just a minute while you figure stuff out?
No, just bear with me. Keep talking.
Okay. I like Laura. I know you're a professional and you're very educated, so I don't want to do this to you, but like, it's so funny to me. I really want to like announce you as coming on as Laura from the basement because I just think that's the coolest name.
I've been going through my head thinking like I need to rename who I am, like my YouTube stuff from Laura Thompson, because I never talked to anybody, so I didn't care what I was on here as, you know. So I'm like, okay, but if it's gonna be like the basement, I'm not just gonna be like the basement, obviously. Like I need something mildly clever or something.
I love it. If I was coming from a basement, I would have called my channel Silky from the Basement. I mean, I think it's funny.
Let's just remember, I don't really want to be down here. So I'm like, oh my God. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out the volume on this thing. Like, I used to be so computer savvy and stuff, and now I don't even pay attention anymore. So eventually I'll figure this out because I can hear
Can
you.
y'all hear her?
That great.
Can you? Oh, that's good. Look, Yoli says that's a good idea. That is so cool. The basement therapist.
Well, okay, so then this is my head. Like, I know you have your jumble. My head is, okay, so yes, basement, that reflects part of it, but then I want it to reflect other parts of me because my therapist wanted me to change it to getting choppy with Laura. And I'm like, that sounds so serial killer. And not everybody knows that I obsessively chop vegetables. I'm like, you're the one that knows that because I have to chop those so I don't freak out during therapy. So, you all
Right.
don't see that part of me.
But see, that is perfect, Laura. That is a perfect thing. You should have a YouTube channel where you are talking about a certain topic and you can have your notes there and just be chopping vegetables the whole time you're talking. I
What
mean,
about
I
some
think that's correct.
ASMR or something where I'm just like, I did that one time for group therapy, and one of the ladies like freaked out over it. So I was like, I was no longer allowed to chop vegetables. Okay, I
Really? That's
finally found the
crazy.
volume.
I can
Okay,
hear her good. If you can't hear her, let me know.
yeah, let me know because like I'm just like I can finally hear that you all or you better, and the cats finally sat down instead of continuously needing me. So yeah. So anyway, so yes,
Yeah.
I'm in the basement. I didn't bother to put anything up behind me because it seems to not matter. And also, I'm like trying to situate. Also, I never did finish steam mopping.
Did you not? I wish I had a
Oh,
steam mop. I do.
it's not that fun. I spent 2 hours just looking for I wanted to find a better mop pad, and I cannot find anything. They're just like microfiber. I've already tore them up.
My goodness. Well, I mean, you have a lot to offer, even with the vegetable chopping and the basement. I think it's super cool. I do. Because, like, look, everybody is out here just, being all professional and everything else. And I'm not saying that's not okay, but, like, it's very different. I would like to see somebody chopping vegetables. I like to watch. And ASMR. If y'all don't know what that is, I didn't know till a couple of years ago, till I was on YouTube and I don't know, it kept suggesting these videos, and I'm like,
It
what in the
does to me
heck?
sometimes.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't.
look, really? Now, I don't really watch them, but every once in a while, when one pops up, I will listen. Look, I'm one of those people. I didn't know I was one of those people. I
Oh,
don't
I
know what
am.
disorder this is, but
Yeah.
like, I get calm listening to certain sounds. It's
Oh,
like,
mine's like
oh,
very specific. Like that's why I kept listening to you when I first came across you because your voice was calming to me, and then there was other people's voices that legitimately were triggering me, and not like triggering me
wow.
because they sounded like somebody specifically or they were saying something. Just there's like a certain there's some people that have like a little bit of a screech ish in the background of their voice or something. So I was very, I just couldn't, it didn't matter about the content. I just couldn't even listen. And
Wow.
so, like, the ASMR, the very first one I was shown by my friend that loves them was like these people in Asia eating octopus eyeballs or something and putting them in, it was like putting them in their mouth. So, like, it's one of those things where your first experience can totally ruin the rest. And yeah, no, I don't like them. But we might get choppy sometime. But I might also cut off part of my hand during that. So y'all just need to be
Oh,
ready
no, no,
to
no.
know that if you see blood, it's pretty much a normal instance around here just to see a little bit of blood. It's not me, it's somebody else. So yeah. I also thought about doing like the crime kitchen, but
There you go.
I know that vibed me a lot. But
Yeah,
for
I'd
now,
watch
maybe I should
that.
actually figure out what the hell I'm doing on
Yeah, you know what? You'll find it. You'll find it. I literally found my other channel. I found the little sweet spot by literally I started out with home renovation and then, my house was haunted and then I tried so many different things and nothing worked. And I think I go back and I look at some of my videos and I'm like that's really good. I still think it's good. Nobody watched it. And then I left I thought, I'm getting out of this and I am going to go full steam ahead in true crime. I was going to do true crime stories, like vintage stories, is where I
Yeah, I
started.
remember watching some of yours, and they were good ones. I liked it.
I loved that, but like people didn't care. So, I ended up, long story short, I ended up in true crime, and I promised my followers on Evelyn Cottage channel that I would not um, abandon them forever. I said, I'm not going to be here very often, but I will keep you updated and I will shoot some videos from time to time. So it was like 2 Octobers ago. I thought, man, it's been months and I haven't done anything. So I thought, you know what? Let me just throw this together. I had seen some ghost stories on a Facebook group. And so I just sat there and I thought, I'm going to read them some ghost stories because it's October. Man,
Samantha, sorry.
what? Laura's
I
Crime Cafe.
finally found. I was the whole time y'all probably saw my eyes darting every single place. I was trying to find the button so I could see y'all's chat, and I finally figured it out. And then it pops up, and I'm like, Crime Cafe.
I love it. I love it. Um, yeah, I love that. But yeah, so you know what? Look, that video that I did just on off the cuff, Laura, it's now got like 60 something thousand views.
I think
And I'm like, you'll find it.
Sometimes it's like depends, I think, what videos catch the most people's attention. Of course, the algorithm is like not really an algorithm other than just an algorithm of suppression. But I think it's kind of like what is going on in the world. Kind of some things catch more than other times because, it just kind of goes with not necessarily trending, but just what people are starting to become more interested in and stuff. Or if they find somebody and they're like, oh my God, I need to listen to somebody that does not talk about this stuff anymore. So, I mean, I'm sure we've all had somebody where we've been like, okay, I like them. They're interested. And then eventually you're like, no.
Yeah, that's weird. But I do that too. Maybe it's a mental condition that we have, Laura, but I'll listen to the same person. Like, I love that channel. I look at everything that they do. And then one day I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm done with them. And they didn't do anything wrong. I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
Well, we have to go back to our ADHD issues. And I think sometimes when you listen to somebody enough, if they become predictable sometimes, like it's like you already know exactly where they're going with it and they're kind of beating a dead horse, then that's usually what it is for me, that or their voice. If it's their voice, yeah, definitely. But otherwise, I'm just like, okay, what am I getting from this? Because I want to learn something.
Right.
I really, that's always my thing. Even if it's like I'm listening to the same type of story, like I know the case or something, or I know a story about, like I watch a lot of World War II stuff too, but I'll listen to different documentaries just because I like to find those little tidbits that weren't in everybody else's narrative. And that's like, the best thing for me. And then, I'm chopping vegetables, so it's not like I'm busy, I just listen. I'm busy. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know what it is with me, but I mean, then sometimes I'll go back and binge their stuff again in a few months. I don't know. But I'm like you. I want to learn something, and I think that's if you saw my private channel, which I've had, just my private one before I ever started a YouTube channel. I've got a email that I've used for like, I don't know, 15 years. And if you were to look at that, you would say, what is wrong with this woman?
I remember you saying something about that. So, I think I told you this before. And like I said in our previous thing, that like with what has happened to me legally and stuff, I'm going to wait until I'm off probation before I tell you all that, because I don't want to get in trouble for anything.
Right.
So, arrested in the evening somewhere and didn't get out until a couple of days later. And the police had been to the house. And I mean, when I was I'm one of those people that I saved all my college textbooks, except the ones I hated, like statistics or something.
Yeah.
It was like my main content.
Right.
I had all those on a shelf still because sometimes I'd look at them. So, I know how my stuff looked before anyone else touched it. And my criminology textbook from 1998 was opened like the police had been looking at it. So our joke is that were they trying to learn what they were doing, or what did they think I got something
Like,
from a
what is
textbook
wrong
from
with this woman? Yeah.
1998? It's all theory anyway. It's not like, oh, this is how you do a crime scene. That's not the stuff.
Yeah.
And now there's something on my whip. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the screen. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. It's like so many things singled out might make people look mildly suspicious, but then it's like the whole picture. You have to know the context of things, because when there's no context, then what do you really have? It's like that says nothing about someone or the situation. So yeah, serial killer documentaries, okay.
Well, now that is on my Silky Southern. If you go on, if I'm in that ID when I'm logging in, that's all that is. But my personal one, it's like you have some crime, you've got some paranormal, but you've also got like nail designs. Yeah, some ASMR might pop up. Like I've got so many. It's so bizarre because I look at my recommended videos and it's like, somebody would really know that I am not only ADHD but like really bad, because it's like what whatever the topic is probably going to be recommended somewhere in
I
my
mean,
stuff because I've watched it.
I watch a lot of stuff. Like I watch, like, there's that one lady that does alterations on prom dresses, and I look at her little brief videos, and I think those are fun because I like to sew too, but I'm not going to sew on a prom dress. And then like there's some, like, I have an obsessive amount of bread baking.
Look,
And I just don't watch them though. I just like I'll look at that one day, and then I have tie dye, and then I have like I've been getting recommended a lot of what is it, like, I guess you just say automobile type stuff, but it's like all over the place, like
wow.
weird stuff, weird vehicles, and it's all because Mike didn't know what a figure eight racing was. And I showed
Oh
him.
gosh.
I know, right? I'm like, what is wrong with you? How do you not know that?
No,
So,
I mean, I understand where you're going, because like I freak out if somebody looks up something on that channel. Like you can use one of
yeah,
my other IDs, but and look up whatever you want, but don't use that one. That's the one I watch all the time, because then I get these crazy
yeah.
recommendations. Yeah.
You can go clear the history though that you watched, and I think that's supposed to help it. Okay, I have a question, because sometimes I'm worried I'm crazy, and I need to.
I'm not worried. I know I am, and I just
It's like
accept it.
the level of crazy. Like I'm in the. I don't have to be hospitalized yet. Crazy. Is my screen dimming and like?
No, it is. It is. I don't know why,
I don't
but
know
it is
why.
dimming.
There's like literally no other light around. Okay, so I don't have to be hospitalized yet.
No, no, you're good. You're good. Speaking of, we're going to be talking about a lot of this kind of stuff, and I know we're just, not everybody probably knows you or will know you that is on the replay crew.
I can go
Um,
ahead and give you all a quick rundown of what I've done, if you want.
um, like,
You can cut me off, or we can do it later. I don't care.
no, you can introduce yourself. Just tell us, like, yeah, just tell us, not the bad stuff.
Okay, so minus anything bad, yeah. So my career, I started out as a psychology major with a minor in criminology, and then I ended up double majoring in sociology and criminology, because my advisor was like, do you realize that if you just take these other two courses, that other outside of your criminology classes, that you'll have a double major? And I was like, no. So that's what I did. So I've had so many statistics classes that I know more than I want to know about it, but it kind of helps it sometimes when you're like dissecting articles and research reports.
Right,
Like,
right.
when people are trying to say this is an occurrence and this is what's going on, I'm like, wait a second, let's look at that sample population and,
Mm-hmm.
destroying it. So yeah, I geek out over that stuff. So I did that with the intention of getting my PhD right away. And then that didn't happen because I was stupid and got married to my first husband. So I ended up
Guilty.
working. I mean, it happens, and I was like literally thinking earlier, what did I, what was it about him that I liked? And I'm like thinking, he had a job and he was tall. That's all I can come up with. So
Well, at least you came up with something. I've looked at some of my past relationships and thought, what was I thinking? There
oh
was
yeah,
nothing. What was wrong? Well, and I know, but part of this actually goes, for me anyway, goes into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about because
yes, you have an
honestly,
experience that I didn't have.
well, I had a lot of experiences and
Yeah, I
most people
mean,
didn't have,
I've had
but
experiences, but mine are more the drunken stuff.
yeah.
Not
Well, I
not
think, well, everything kind of played into mine. And this
yeah,
is what I finally realized, like broken people are only really attracted to other broken people. It's like the brokenness in you is reaching out for the brokenness in someone else.
yeah,
So you can't, until you're well, you don't even recognize really how broken somebody else is. But
right.
I look at myself now, and the kind of people that I'm attracted to now are like worlds away that from my past relationships. Like I can identify those people so quickly, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
ugh.
and I mean, I like that you said it about the identifying people because, like, it's when we talk about people getting into abusive relationships, other than the fact that I think that anyone that's not been around somebody or experienced it themselves doesn't realize how this isn't like a, oh, here this person is there, here's all the signs,
Mm-hmm.
and they're already trying to manipulate you and stuff. It's not like that. It's so inching forward, inching forward, inching forward,
Yeah.
that you don't see it until you're too far in. But yeah,
Right.
and we can talk about that more. But just real quick, so psych hospital I worked at, that, yeah, that actually was what started breaking me, was
It's a tough
doing,
area.
oh well, I was admissions. um there was a lot of on-call hours that I took advantage of, but then I'm not getting sleep. But having to interview kids that were like 10, 11, and were attempting suicide, like at that age, I didn't even know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started to break. And I didn't get help until I had been called in, and I don't know what happened, but I was frustrated and I was crying in the office after the patient had gone back. And this charge nurse came in, and he just knew
Yeah.
some stuff. He knew, and he's just like, he came over and put his hand on my shoulder and was like, if you need to talk to somebody, I'm here. And also, maybe you need some medicine. So I was like, yes, yes.
Well,
So,
I mean, but you're right. It really does when you're in that, because I've had several different. Well, I had one job where I was assigned to long term adolescents, and this is at a psych hospital. By long term, it's over a year, it's indefinite. Some
mhm,
of them will never probably even get as far as a group home.
mhm.
They will always be institutionalized. And then, but even though I was hired for the adolescents, you know how it goes in the hospital. You get
Oh
pulled to
yeah, you
different
go where you.
areas.
It's like whatever they think they need this, you do it.
Yeah. So there were many days I was pulled over to, I don't think they would admit anybody until they were 6 years old, but I would be pulled over to the kids area. And, you know, you can't. and I would read some of their case histories, and I didn't understand my coworkers. I hated that job. I loved my patients. I hated my coworkers. Absolutely. I don't use that word lightly. I despised my coworkers. They were so mean, so heartless. And, they would tell me, you need to read the case files. And I would sit there, and, the case files were like
Oh
huge.
yeah.
And I would sit there and I would be skimming them to try to get like kind of a background on my patients. And Laura, I would sit there and
Yeah.
just cry,
Yeah.
because you cannot imagine how many things can go wrong for one person.
Oh yeah.
And so, I I could not. I mean, I know there's a balance. You have to have rules, and you have to have boundaries, because that makes them feel safe. And so you have to, but you don't have to be mean and
No.
horrible. And these people were, and I like really. I couldn't stand them, and I could not understand how you could read a case history
Yeah.
of these children and treat them the way you do. For example, okay. Now I know you have to. There's boundaries on relationships and stuff. It's a kind of a tricky territory, because when you're talking about
It
kids and
can be when you're
adolescents,
spending a lot of time with someone.
right? And they're long term. It's not like they're in there
Yeah.
for 2 weeks. They're long term. And they don't even see their families. Most of the time, the family
Exactly.
didn't even come on visitation. So you are their family. And I would hear it wasn't a rule we couldn't say this, but I would hear some of the kids tell the other nurses, "Hey, Miss So and So, I love you," and they would say, "I don't love you,"
Okay.
and I would be like,
I don't think I ever saw anybody do that. I mean, they just kind of like, I know that sometimes you're just going to be like, you know, like you say something else
right.
instead, but not like that. So yeah.
No, when I say they were horrible, they were horrible. And you know what? I thought, heck with it. They can fire me if they want to, but when they told me, Miss Silky, I love you, I'd say, I love you too, baby. That's it.
I've heard people say it. I mean, it's difficult. We only had the one long term unit, and that was for sexually reactive girls. And if nobody, I think you know what that means, but it's when somebody's been sexually abused and then they start trying to or
Yes,
do actually abuse someone else sexually.
absolutely.
So those girls were the only ones that we had long term, but it was that same situation. They just wanted somebody to have some sort of affection for them, and that's not saying touching them. It's not even like that.
Right,
Just the
right.
fact that somebody being nice to them. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that when you're institutionalized for a while, um, just being a common, decent person goes a long way for somebody that's been institutionalized.
Yes. And I mean, because of that, yeah, the no touching, it was very rare, extremely rare if I would give somebody a hug, because,
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want to cross those boundaries. It would have to be they were in a really bad situation. Um, but just, a hand right on their back, or
Yeah. I
just a
mean,
pat,
even
just
just
a
a kind
pat.
word. I
Yeah.
mean, just being polite. The hatefulness just is like, what? Why? And I just like, I know that I'm sure when I was younger that I didn't follow by this, but I just don't know, why do you have to make somebody else feel worse when you feel bad?
Yeah.
And that's like in that situation, like it's not a relationship where you're like constantly at it or anything. It, why does it have to make it worse?
Yeah. And, that was just more rejection to kids who had already been rejected by their parents. And it's just feeding into that whole, self concept of I'm not worthy. Nobody's ever going to
Yeah.
love me. And yes, you had some. I mean, I had one 12-year-old boy that I don't know why they would put me one to one with him, you know, every day. until I was like, look, I love this little guy, but I need a break.
I
Okay,
mean,
12 hours one to one is too much.
like,
Following him from room to room, doing whatever he's doing, charting on him every 5 minutes. But look, Laura, he was the kind that he was that kind of active, and he
mhm,
would literally attack people and try to
yeah.
be that way with them. And you never knew. Like, he could be fine 1 minute and then off the charts the next.
It sounds like he needed a different level of care or in a different facility that where he could get the attention and structure to deal with that. Because we have to
Yeah.
admit, not all places are the same. And
No.
I mean, it's not just the staff makes people places different for treatment. It's also just who's there, how are things handled,
Right.
and I know we haven't talked about this other one that you covered, but that camp,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we don't have to
Trails,
talk about it
Carolina.
anymore, but obviously things were not handled how they should be handled. And that wilderness camp made me think of how when I did work at the psych hospital, we would occasionally get kids that were suicidal, usually
Mm-hmm.
from the Bluegrass Challenge camp. And it's like one of those where it is a physical activity camp, and most of them are there to get their GED and better themselves. It's like ran by the National Guard, as far as I know, unless I
Wow.
misunderstood it. So, like, knowing what kind of strict discipline that they had there, and then hearing that that wilderness therapeutic camp was what they were doing. Stop it. What they were doing to the cat
Yeah.
likes to rub on everything. I'm just like, this is what is this? I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Anyway, I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
because I'll rant
Yeah.
about that.
And I may still cover that one.
But it's
Actually,
not. There
eh,
was just things I was looking at from a different angle, like policy wise,
yeah.
that I was just like, oh, geez.
Yeah. I've got a lot of stuff saved. I've got a complete whole bunch of stuff I could do another live on it, like at any
Well,
time.
I think that
But
not rushing into it is probably a good idea because obviously we have a lot of information that still needs to come out about that.
yeah.
The only thing that really I was digging into as much as I could and not getting too many places with for some reason, but I just think I need to look a different way. Um, the director or whoever over that, like whoever it's their camp, I don't think she has any mental health education whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
Like, I don't
That's
see anything.
crazy.
I honestly, it almost looks like the places that I looked and would see her information, like as a professional, it almost looked like it was almost like purposeful, you know? That didn't make
Yeah.
sense to me because usually you have something going on, a licensure, some type of training, even, or
You would think.
degree. And I didn't
No,
see
but
anything.
the one that is in Alabama that I am way more familiar with, I'm not saying they do have some licensed people, but a lot of them were not, and it is very controversial. I know someone who, even though he had some really bad experiences, it overall was a positive thing. And then there are others. I found there's a whole support group online with
Yeah,
people, former kids of this camp. So yeah, um, but I
it's
mean,
a whole nother. I
yeah,
mean, that's just crazy. And I want to know why these parents are sending their kids. Obviously they're paying a lot,
oh yeah,
and I just feel like when I whatever I've seen uh, online, the therapeutic part of that title was very, very loosely used,
yes,
as was
extremely.
as was the wellness um, in that title. And that's something I've always wanted to tell you. So I have a fascination often with what words people select to use in certain things
Mm-hmm.
because there's different implications. You know, you could say the same thing, but you could say it different.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than that's just like drastically off the wall.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, like when when I watch these news reports and stuff, or long network or whoever, um, sometimes I'm really focused just on what exactly they said, because even when people say that they don't have an opinion or something, too often it's like, okay, the word you selected kind of lets us know what you really think about it. And then it
Right.
also, I giggle when news, like the news is talking about crime, and they use executes a lot as a
Mm-hmm.
verb, but not in relation to anything of
Yeah.
the dying nature. So
Right.
I just think it's interesting. So, but I don't want you to think that I'm picking apart your words.
It's okay. Like, look,
Because
I
I'm not like
talk,
that
I
upset.
talk like I talk, and that's just
No,
like
I
I don't
talk like
know.
I talk too, but like I'm just gonna say that sometimes people tell me they don't know what I'm talking about. So it's like, okay, sorry.
Well, it's a lot of. I try to keep the Southern speak out of it as much as I can, but then you have to choose your words carefully for YouTube too. So that's a whole nother animal,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily the way I would say it if you were sitting in my living
Oh
room,
yeah. No, I
but
know.
it's
No, I
it is
mean,
what it is.
there's yeah. My speech has gotten a lot less professional sounding. So, because like
I
I
don't
used
think
to
that's
be
always a
very,
bad thing, though, Laura.
it
I
doesn't
don't.
bother me because I'm not in a setting where it matters anymore.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
what am I going to do? Go outside and talk to the rabbits and stuff in the yard or something? I mean, they don't care what I say, and they don't care if I drop the F bomb either. But I mean, you know, I used to try to talk better. I actually wanted to have the backyard behind me, and Mike's like, there's too much light. And I'm like, okay, fine. But yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. I know. That's the rabbits. Well, with me too. It's not the rabbits, but it's a different language at the jail. I'm
You
gonna
think
I'm
I
gonna.
don't know?
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm
Oh,
sure
I
you do.
so did not fit in. So
I'm gonna try to hold on. I cannot even remember. We started when you were eating. We started talking about. So tell me what you think about this. At Solid Rock, on
oh yes,
Sunday, the
yes.
the
I
sprinkler system and the arrest. What do you think about that?
okay, so you know, I think originally I heard maybe Jesse Weber talking about it on Law and Crime, and like, or it's that, or I wasn't actually watching it because too often I'm not actually looking at the TV. I'm just listening. So I wasn't sure how exactly it happened. And then, of course, somebody was talking and was like, oh, well, it was really hot there. So maybe he was trying to offer them some relief. And then I saw it and I'm like, that man had no intention of offering anybody any
No,
relief.
no.
I
But
mean,
had I been there, I would have thanked him and played in it because that's just me. But I would have been
now that makes
grateful.
me want to put on a bikini and go.
No, right?
Right.
Let's show up in bathing suits
I
next
mean,
week.
why not? Take your pool noodles and stuff and go have a blast.
You might as well.
I I just like, oh my god. So no, I hadn't read this whole thing. I just saw the vicious pagans.
Yeah, okay, so this is what JP writes. These people are not protesting. Solid Rock believes in the right to protest. These people are pagans who are trying to stop Christians from worshiping. They slander, they speak lies, they take pictures of children, unlike you, JP, and they wear masks while standing in front of parishioners who try to enter and leave the house of the Lord. I'm not
So
sure the Lord is still there, but that's my opinion.
I don't think he was
Um,
ever there.
I don't think that he's been. Maybe for some of the people that were there, that were good people.
But
At this
this
point, I'm
actually,
thinking he's already said deuces.
he's like, I just can't, you know.
God's
So
like,
I'm glad
I'm
I just
out of.
told you. I'm glad I just told you all about me being interested in how people word stuff, because these vicious pagans, oh my God, like I'm so
Yeah,
frightened. Like, this is worse than those Kirk Cameron movies, Left Behind. You need to be afraid now, right?
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and he says they use illegal blowhorns and laugh at the city police because the city is doing nothing to stop them from harassing Christians who simply want to worship together for 1 hour. Now, in my opinion, um, first of all, if you look at the footage, the live footage, nobody is laughing at the police. I
Okay,
mean,
so we also need to separate. Well, we know why it says harassment. We all know we're slanting everyone and what they're hearing because those vicious pagans. Oh my God! So, I mean, I'm right in there with them. I'll just go with my big Star of David on, and they can love me. But which I thought was what Christianity was about. But anyway, so
yeah, right?
I think we need to. Somebody needs to let them know that harassment and legal protest are two different things. So, I
I
think
mean, but you're talking, Laura, to somebody, JP, who likes to
I
wear a
know
Spider-Man costume and drive a DeLorean. So I mean, we're already Delulu right
we're
now.
we're a little unhinged there, and like you said, you were worried about his cheese slipping off his cracker,
Mm,
and I don't know, because I would have thought it would have done it by now if it was going to. Um, my husband and I talk about him a lot because when he does dumb stuff, not my husband, because that's another story, but when JP does some of his stuff, I'll be like, if we were I'll lay it out to my husband. I'll be like, if we were doing this, would you do that? And he's like, no, so like, JP doesn't make sense.
it's because your husband is not insane
Well,
like
he's not a
JP.
narcissist. I do know that. I had him
Yes.
tested.
Oh, I thought you. But I was gonna say now, JP. I'm not a professional, but I can
Okay,
tell you,
so
JP is a narcissist.
okay, so real quick, if y'all don't know, I almost completed my PhD in clinical psychology. I was right at that whole dissertation stage. I have all my courses, and then things happened. So I'm I guess I'm a professional. I'm just definitely unlicensed and not bothering to go for a licensure now. But like, it does not. His responses to things, his reactions to things, his behavior, even without those, narcissistic or not, of course, separate of that, none of it is, I don't even want to say typical. I don't even know anybody else, even any friend I've had maybe has been hopped up on meth or something, that would act like that in this situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's just I don't care, just even if he was on drugs, maybe he needs to be on drugs, because literally the things that he does, he has clear attention seeking behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
If you really worried about things that he should be worried about, which there's so many, we can list them for days. If you were really worried about the same things that he needs to be worried about, you're drawing way too much attention to yourself. you're being on the defensive. I understand being on the defensive. You want to defend yourself. I understand that completely. But the ways are so misguided. And I can't even think of a fictional movie I've watched where anybody has done this type of, these just the behavior and stuff. It's
Look,
just,
it's Hollywood isn't that creative. JP is way past that level.
this is why I don't watch fiction much anymore, or I'll watch a movie. I don't read fiction though. I haven't for years because just
Me
watching
either.
people is so much more entertaining, but I'm not really
Yes.
that this isn't that entertaining. It's kind of sad, honestly, when I get
It
down to
is.
thinking about the actions. Are you going to come over here or not? Okay, we're having cat time here.
That's
But
fine.
okay, I'm going to shush for a while you discuss this, just
Well,
because I'm
I was just going to ask you about this because this is like just the beginning of the stuff that I want to show you and hear your comments about. But this particular sentence, this is JP in an email. They make mockery of the Christian faith, having a man dressed up like Jesus walk around scaring innocent parishioners as they enter church.
Okay, so I did watch some of the Jesus stuff because I was curious. I haven't been watching a lot of it, but when I heard that Jesus was there, I mean, I want to see him too, Jewish or not. But that man was so, like, he was so calm the whole time. I didn't even hear him yelling anything or say anything, really. He was very
No.
calm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's all boogie boogie, I'm Jesus, it's nothing like that. And I hope nobody gets offended by that. I am not mocking anything like that. I'm not going to make a mockery of anybody's faith like JP might be.
I mean, I just can't see how you think that somebody dressing up like Jesus, because people do it all the time, right? At holidays
Yeah.
and like, why is somebody Jesus, little Jesus, he was not harming anybody. I mean, he's just walking around. So how can JP, like, what do you think this says about his mental state? I guess to say that having someone dress up is scarring innocent people, scarring them.
So the first thing I see, okay, I'm trying to form words that aren't just cussing. I'm just saying, like, it's going to come out of there. So the concern here is not simply that what he's saying about Jesus or the man that appears to be Jesus. The assumption here with that article is that people who read it, which I don't remember if you told me where it was from. Where was it? That article that we just looked at?
The Sun News in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. So the assumption here is that people who read it will get mad about it because mockery, but also that they're not going to go check the actual protest. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of us, at least in the southern states, know that there's like a special demographic of that.
Yeah.
No checking sources or asking anyone, and also I think that it's just like the people that they expect that most people that read that are going to just go ahead and believe it and go on, and it's in hopes of his not Jesus's, JP's reputation being bolstered a little bit, where I don't understand why that his efforts are being wasted on saving his reputation.
Yes, yes.
But I mean,
That was
it's
gone weeks
it,
ago.
but it's obviously totally angled, and I don't know who wrote that. Um,
JP, that was a letter that JP
oh,
wrote
I
to the
missed
Sun
that.
News.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, so that's JP talking, saying this about, Jesus. So I love this, Just Robin. He's a good guy talking about Jesus. JP tried to get him arrested a week or so ago. I think JP needs a hysterectomy.
I can write JP about that and let him know that my hysterectomy was one of the best things that happened to me lately. That thing was amazing.
Maybe that's true. Maybe, I could see that that might really help. I don't know.
Okay, so very specifically, I just lost my thought. I need more meds. Okay, so last night there's this, I can't remember the name of it's like Freedom Voice or something, and I had only watched his channel or caught it originally when he was going over the security camera footage from the pawn shop of Mica, and then also the gas station footage, and pointing out how it really did look like people were watching her.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he did it fairly,
Yeah.
not usually my thing, but he really was like pointing out some specific things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm having trouble seeing that those people weren't watching her, even if what wasn't out of direction of JP.
Yeah.
It still looked a lot like she was being watched by more than one person. So I ended up watching another one, which ended up last night came up, and it was the entire sermon from the day after she died.
Mm-hmm.
So that pisses me off every time I think about it, honestly.
Yeah.
And to hear all of what he said, I don't think I'd ever listened to the entirety of it, at least at once. So I'm over there chopping vegetables, going off. And I asked my husband, I'm like, okay, so let's say you find me one day and it looks like I've killed myself, I'm like, let's just say that I did. This is what you find. I was like, so what are you going to say to people if that's what happened, if that's what you think, but you don't know yet for sure. Okay. I was like, it's the next day. You don't know. But if somebody asks you or anything, I was like, what are you going to say? He's like, I'm not even going to say anything about you looking like you did it yourself. He's like, I would just say that you passed. I was like, okay. What about to your family? He's like, I don't think I would tell them either until we knew for sure. And I was like, what if it really, really looked like I did? He's like, I might tell them that. He's like, I might tell mom that it looked like, but we didn't know. I was like, okay. I said, are you going to mention my PTSD? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm not going to talk about your mental issues next day to everybody until we know. I was like, okay, that's all I need to know. Because I'm pretty sure that most people's husbands aren't going to go to work the next day and aren't going to just totally cast onto everyone. And then if anything goes on, I'm pretty sure that most people's husbands aren't going to continue the narrative of blaming the victim and saying all these things she did. And instead, I mean, call me naive. I'm used to people being more like, could you give us some space and some time to grieve?
Right.
I have seen absolutely none of that. But I guess it's hard to grieve when you already have your next wife or 5 lined up.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he's gonna planning to settle down anytime soon. I think he's
No,
still going to be out there looking for that hot wife.
yeah, which I just
But I mean, yeah, that was the whole thing. The way that was handled was what triggered everybody.
so you see
Everybody.
that, and then this continuation into it's everyone but him.
Right.
He's not
And
the problem.
no. And that's the thing. I can't somebody had put a comment in here and I cannot find it right
Okay,
now.
well, look for
Hello?
it. I wanted to say one thing really quick because I like if I start typing in the comments, I will be worse off track than I am right now. But I think I saw Linda Kay say something about looking out at the cows. And I wish I was in my finished kitchen that I don't have and probably won't have forever. But I still have my collection somewhere hidden, but I actually collect Brahmin cows. If anybody knows what those are, I collect figurines of
Yeah.
Brahmin cows, the ones that have the hump,
Really?
because that's what we
Yeah.
raised. That's what we raised when I was little. So like, they make me happy. So I have all these Brahmin cows everywhere.
Whatever makes you happy, Laura.
Actually, I mean, that's like people collect things. That's my thing now. It just was like I had them on the cabinets above this everything in the kitchen, but one day I will have that again. But here we are, ductwork being put in by somebody that doesn't know how to do HVAC work. So it's okay. I'm just in my
It's okay.
basement, the Crime Cafe basement.
I think it's great. I think that's great. I love Buckeye. If the real Jesus showed up, JP would likely call the cops on him too. I would say yes to that, Buckeye, but someone would have to introduce him to Jesus because I honestly, from the bottom of my soul, don't think he knows him at all. I don't think he'd recognize him. Hey, Four Pets, what's up? And Caddy Crime Ghoul, I saw you in here. It's good to see you. Um, yeah. So, but now let me show you. Okay, because we're talking about like I started this with always have Micah in mind because look, nobody's perfect, but she was groomed since she was a young girl. So as I'm looking up stuff, and I think I know that affected every decision. What happened to her being groomed and all this stuff by JP and whatever. We don't know the full extent of what happened back then. I believe that completely changed her brain, like rewired it in some way. And
Yep, you can.
you're very susceptible, especially, and then she ends up marrying this guy that has groomed
Mhm.
her. So I was looking up stuff, and this actually, let me find this one, and I think I'm going to make it full screen because let me stop sharing that one. This is 2 years old. Okay, and there is a pastor, and I cannot remember his name, but I want y'all to look at this because this is devastating. And he is doing his retirement. He's at the church doing his retirement ceremony and all this. And he gets confronted, and they've got it all on video. And
I love
if you,
confrontations.
I hate him. I hate him. I
No,
hate to fight.
not me.
No,
Watching.
I mean, I don't like. Look, it makes me very anxious. I don't like to look at anybody else have confrontations either. It makes me anxious.
It
Yeah,
depends on what it is. When
that's why I
when
don't watch TV.
when it's like oh, when it's kind of like misogynistic stuff, like
Yeah.
that's the ones I love. If it's like other stupid
Oh
stuff that
yeah.
really doesn't need to be a confrontation, then no, 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 no. But I
Yeah.
like when people being put in their place,
I
or
do. Yeah, I know
well,
what you're
not
saying.
necessarily misogynistic, but also like as far as other aspects of being vulnerable in society.
Well, you're gonna
Um,
love this one. You're gonna love this one because it's like that, and I want y'all to see this because what caught me about it is it's not only the confrontation of somebody calling out the crime, But what I saw in it is I saw the years and years and years of hurt that this woman has, and why her anger, why she's so bitter to do something like this. And and I'm not saying she shouldn't have, kudos to her. Like, you go girl. But that's what I took away from it. It's like, look how many years this woman has been in pain. So let me pull this up. No, that's not it.
I like what Yoli said.
What did she say?
I like debates, not confrontations.
I don't know.
I just like it when somebody's wrong.
Okay.
And
Hold
like,
on.
but not like just wrong, but like, trying to say things like, vicious pagans and things like that. It's like blatantly not appropriate for the situation and not accurate. And then they get proven wrong. That's what I like to see. I think I'm a sadist.
I don't know. I guess because I feel so many different directions.
Yeah, you're more of an empath. I used to be that way. I got hardened.
I really wish I wasn't sometimes. But look at this, y'all. And I'm going to play a few minutes of this guy. I'll tell you what no. All right. I hope I don't get a strike for this, but what it is, It's worth y'all to see this. All right. So let me make sure this is going on. Hold on.
Because he committed child molestation. The congregation gave him a standing ovation. The victim confronted him. Let's go to the first video.
For 27 years, I lived in a prison. It was not 20 years. I lived in a prison of lies and shame. Lying to protect the Lowe family. For years, I thought I was a horrible person having suicidal thoughts, not realizing what had been truly done to me. I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor. Do you remember that? I know you do, and I have plenty of other stories that I could bring to remembrance. You did things to my teenage body that had never and should have never been done. If you can't admit the truth, you have to answer to God. You are not the victim here. I tried to tell someone, but all that was done was cover up. No one ever came to me. No one ever helped me. No one ever got me counseling. I have wanted to talk to somebody all of these years and never. You have. You have somebody that you talk to. I never have. The church deserves to know the truth. This church has been built on lies, but no more. The lies need to stop. I could give story after story after story to what you did to me. Michael, your dad is not the victim here. A partial truth is not true. If I would have gotten counseling, your dad would be in prison.
Let's put up the picture of this brave young woman, okay? I'm going to give you some more context to this. Pastor John Lowe of New Life Christian Church in Indiana confessed to sexual assault decades ago. He called it adultery. He lied about the time frame. He wanted to say it was 20 years ago when it was 27 years ago, making her roughly 14, 15 years of age, okay? When he resigned with this lie, her and her husband came up to the pulpit to correct the narrative.
Exactly.
There's more video, here it is.
And I will not let this man talk about my wife like that. It happened for 9 years. When she was 15, 16, the sexual grooming started. And it lasted until she met me and we started dating. This is the truth. And that's all we're gonna say, except just that's it.
We have numbers, you can talk to my brother.
That's fine. This necklace was Bobby's, and it was given to her by Joe II. possibly other people in the office, they might have received necklaces too as like a ministry gift. I'm not trying to stretch the truth here, but it was in her house and I'm giving it back. This was Bobby's covenant of purity ring, which she wore while this man had sex with her, and she felt ashamed all these years wearing the covenant of purity ring. She felt a lot of shame and guilt. They can't just bamboozle people and just say, well, I just committed adultery. It was far beyond adultery.
Yeah. That is exactly
So,
look. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
okay. Manipulation of facts, right? I mean, because it goes back to the language aspect of I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it this way because it looks more favorable upon you, which, I mean, shame on him, obviously, but like, I think that we're seeing this in almost all similar cases that have been covered lately. Because there's actually one, I don't think it was something with that. Because the other one that you have shown is the Robert Morrison one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I watched something else, and I'll have to go back and find it and show it or send it to you or the name so to see. But it's like that seems to be the technique when you're in this. I'm a pastor that's a predator, I guess. I don't know what else to call them.
Yeah.
It seems to be a theme of changing the words and then wanting to be forgiven, and then you're forgiven, but also it's totally always denying the victim of what really happened.
Yeah. And that's what she was saying. I think that's the main thing that I took away is she said while she was thinking of self-harm because she's felt so much guilt and shame for all these years, this guy was still in the pulpit. Yeah. Because like Robert Morris, he said adultery. He never said he was a chomo.
I'm trying not to laugh because my husband kept thinking you were saying cholo. I'm sorry. I'm so situationally inappropriate nowadays. So was it one that okay, let me just ask. Another one that you covered, was it one where whoever was over them and in charge of this pastor found out and knew, and his excuse years later for not doing anything about it was that he had not been trained in how to handle sexual assault cases within the church?
I don't know, but I do have an article pulled up. That might be the one that you're talking about.
Okay. Well, I know this was literally a video because I remember his face because they were doing an interview years later, and I'll have to get into my history and find it for you. But like, I'm just thinking, how as a human can you just be like, oh, I was not trained for that?
No, but do you know the law?
Exactly. And like, are you not a conscious being in this world right now? Like,
right.
It's not like this is a secret. Like, we're not going to tell you all what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, maybe you just want to say that because you were told just to let it go. In reality, which would be using doublespeak to say, I wasn't trained on how to handle it. Because you were trained to be saying, no, let it go.
Yeah, you're right. It's the way, it's the semantics of it. It is the way that they say it that they think that's going to get them off the hook. Well, I'm like, do you have an IQ of 3? Because if it's any higher than that, then you should know that this is illegal. All right. And what makes me so mad about these pastors is that okay, let's just take the law out of it. Okay? If you're just going to go by biblical law, if you're a church leader, I'm assuming you've read the Bible or at
Well,
least most of it.
you're assuming too much.
Apparently I am, because the Bible clearly says that you can, yes, you can be restored to God, you can be forgiven, restored to God, but you cannot pastor again. And I don't care. Look, people who see this, I've got so much hate mail and so many hateful comments, but y'all, look, you can stand before God if you want to. And you can explain to him why you supported this that was clearly unbiblical, and why you can answer to him, but I'm not. Not me.
Yeah,
No.
no. I just I think most of us can agree with this statement, but I would not be able to just to have anything like that, even a suspicion of somebody being abused like that, weighing on my conscience ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've told you this before, but and it wasn't for sexual. It wasn't for that essay abuse. I don't know why I had to cover my mouth, but for physical, I actually reported one of my friends to DCBS, or ours is DCBS, Department of Children's Families. Some is Child Protective Services and stuff. I don't care who you are. I will report you and let the authorities take care of that, because I cannot, in good faith, sit with knowing something's going on with these kids.
Right.
It's nothing personal to me. I want the kids to be okay. I know that we talked about a couple of other things surrounding this. My thoughts are unclear. I don't know why. You wanted, I think there was something you wanted to talk to that was just a tangent off of this, and now I can't think of it.
Well, I do have something that. Hold on, just a second.
Okay, you play
Go
DJ.
ahead. What?
Play DJ. DJ of the video.
Oh.
Like, remember those words back from the day when DJs.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what you're saying though.
Don't. You're playing videos like a DJ, like a disc jockey back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's okay. I have loose tangents over here.
It's okay. I bring up this article, Laura, because I wanted you to, and I know that you know more about this, but I actually got this because the main thing is, of course, the effects. Just like the woman was talking about, just like Mica had to have long-term effects. And so I wanted to bring this up and let you expound on it. So it goes PTSD. What are your expound? Sorry, I don't know how else to
that's fine.
Put it on there.
Let me say a couple of things real quick for context for everyone. I don't know if you knew this, but so when you're working on your doctoral program, they, at least in clinical psych, they preferred that if there was something specific, that you would be to your population of clients later on, that pretty much all your school assignment, like if you were allowed to pick something, it needed to be related to that, So many moons ago, I think it was 2011 when I started, PTSD was my focus point. And also traumatic brain injury, but that was because I had just been working in the Army's behavioral health clinic. So all my stuff was focused on that. And then fun times, and I ended up with PTSD too, just for different reasons.
But
so I look at this.
Okay. Yeah, because as you're reading that, I keep seeing videos on, and I know this is just like condensed. I keep seeing videos.
Is very condensed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just like hitting the that's why I wanted you to expound on it because um look, I keep seeing videos of what they call CPTSD, which is
Complex
childhood.
PTSD.
Yeah, yeah, from childhood complex or
That's
a lot of it
actually
happened. So
so
what is that? Yeah, what does
complex
that look like?
PTSD is like essentially recognized among most professionals nowadays. Um, the thing is, though, that it's not yet classified in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which most people know is the DSM-5, I guess it is now.
Yeah,
But the DSMs take so long to create, and it's not just that people are going through and editing what diagnostic criteria fits certain things or has spun off into a totally other diagnosis as we've people have refined their treatments and diagnosis process. So it it just takes a long time, and then it has to be reviewed by so many people.
right.
Like, I don't think it's like 100 people. I think it's more than that. And so it takes, oh God, we just got the DSM-5 not too long ago. So it'll probably be another 20 years before complex
Yeah.
PTSD will be added unless they do a revised version.
But
So
what are the things that we're looking at when we look at an adult like Mica Miller? And
you want
what kind of things would she potentially exhibit? Actually JP too, because I firmly believe, and this is just me, but and I'm not a JP lover by any means, but I do
that sounds
believe
like a
that.
really sad documentary.
Well, I'm not. Y'all know how I feel about JP, but at the same time, there
You have
is
some
part of my
passion.
brain. Well, he didn't just come out of the womb, I don't think, in this mess that he is. I mean, I feel like he also had trauma. I mean, look at his dad, who's been arrested for whatever. His dad is a hot mess.
Well, I'm not sure about his claims of abuse, but regardless of his claims of being abused as a child,
Oh,
um,
he's not claiming it.
oh, I thought he was.
Well, if he is, I haven't seen it. This
I
is
saw
just
that. I saw that somewhere recently that he was.
really,
So unless it was like misconstrued, because I'm not going to act like I vetted that source or anything,
yeah.
I was under the impression that he has said that. Now, who knows if he was in a drug fueled state when he said that? I don't know. But based on the fact of how his father was growing up, even not knowing exactly how his father directly treated him, when you have a father going back and forth and having these multiple moves of the church and Bible college and renaming of things and trying to hide things and money going wherever and questionable situations with other people, as well as bringing over people from other nations and the whole underpaying or not paying issue
Mm-hmm.
there. Sounds like a lot of people moving that was going on. And
Yes.
so, whatever that whole situation was, the main thing that it screams to me is unstable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just nothing about that situation sounded stable other than he was getting money. That seems to be the only stable thing. So, JP growing up in that situation could definitely have been multiple little, not a huge life threatening um, situation trauma. He could have that, but he doesn't have to necessarily have had that to develop any type of issues with maybe something complex trauma or PTSD later on, because when your dad's getting arrested and things like that as you're growing up, or he's not there, or he's there, but as you would say, shenanigans are going on of some sort. I don't know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, it affects kids growing up. The lack of stability is the main issue because children thrive on having a stable home, and the stability of the home is a psychological method of having that. I lost my word. Not compassion. It's the acceptance and knowing you're taken care of.
Right.
when I think we know more so about children who have been neglected and maybe haven't gotten to eat all the time, or there wasn't money for food, not knowing when you're getting your next meal or things like that, not knowing where you're going to sleep. Those kind of issues in a child's life can lead to the complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It can also be other things. It just depends. But if we want to look at behavior-wise with Mica, or like not really behavior-wise necessarily, but some of the things surrounding her, without knowing what's going on with her medically, because there seems to be some other, I don't know what going on there, not having a primary care physician. I'm so confused about that. So, when you are living in a situation where you aren't sure what somebody's going to say to you, when they're going to blow up on you, what you're going to be used for next or accused of with no reasoning, you are going to be fairly well maxed on anxiety all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that
for
it's one of
sure.
those situations that we've heard of where when it's quiet and things seem to be going well, that's almost when you're worried the most, because you don't know when it's going to happen next. So
Yeah.
you're always on edge. When you're always on edge, then you're irritable or paranoid sounding. I've heard paranoid plenty on this whole, all the stuff on her. So, I mean, it comes out that way. We also have to consider, and this is something that I honestly have only been learning about the past few years, really. It's not just the thoughts and what you think in your head. It's not, we can't say it's just that. There really is legit physiological issues here. Your nervous system is built upon a patterns in your life, patterns of behavior. Because ultimately when you end up with a trigger, or it's probably easier for us to talk about it like a phobia at first. I'm not saying triggers are phobias, but dumbass story here. When I was little, I was afraid of cotton balls. So
I
afraid
have
of
a patient like that. That is so strange to me. But I've got a patient.
Specifically, the cotton balls, that the old Tylenol bottles, when you pull it out and it made that noise.
Yeah.
So obviously, I wasn't like, oh, cotton balls, I'm so scared. It didn't happen that way. It was my sister was chasing me around and trying to beat me up, but would end up for some reason chasing me with a cotton ball. I don't know. She doesn't make sense, and we're not going to talk about her too much. But it was crazy. So yeah, cotton ball issue. So, when you're in a situation with people and, your anxiety, it develops sort of like that. You don't automatically have anxiety about one thing. Like, usually when people develop test anxiety, it's because they feel like they perform poorly on tests. So if you have anxiety about JP, then it's because you are worried about what erratic thing he's going to do next, because this man is off the hook, unpredictable. And I could totally, I wouldn't be able to be around him, because that would just be, that's too much drama for me.
Look, Laura, I was married to one of those. I was married to one of those, a narcissist, and I didn't even know. Like,
Yeah. You don't know.
because you don't know. I didn't know that much about narcissism at the time. But when I met up with him years later, which was about 7 years ago, it was so obvious. But that's the thing. You don't. They keep you so off balance. A narcissist will, that you're, yes, paranoia, because if everything's going good, you're really
You're
terrified, like you're
always on
scared.
edge.
Yeah, you're always on edge. You're always looking for, the shoe to drop, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so you're not even thinking, your brain isn't relaxed enough, I don't think, to think, this man is gaslighting me, or this is what's happening now, and this is and how do I respond to this in a healthy way, because they keep you so off balance. And if you don't have PTSD and you're in the relationship with a narcissist, you will have PTSD afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
And
telling you.
and that's where it comes into, even as an adult, you don't have to be a child to have the little traumas that build up. You could be an adult and easily have those little traumas that build up, because I know that, like, now it's at the point where gaslighting is like getting a bad name because people think it's overused and stuff, and that's, okay, whatever. But still, when you are constantly being questioned as if it's always you that's the problem,
Right.
that's the problem. And probably a narcissist doesn't always know they're doing it per se, because it's so much a habit after a while.
You think? Because I feel like, well, at least my narcissist, I feel like he knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew where in the cycle we were, and exactly how to manipulate me whichever way he wanted to.
I think that after a while, that some of the smaller things, maybe like the not so obvious nuances of their behavior, that it's kind of just developed into a habit pattern for them. They've done it like maybe the first few times that he, in his head, he's like, I bet if I tell her that she said this the other day, and she'll believe me, and she'll think she's forgetting.
Yeah.
It might start out as that, and then eventually turn into automatically, when you're like, I don't remember that. I don't know what you're talking about. You're like, oh, you just said this yesterday. And it just becomes like the pretty much instant response almost, just because our brain does work in patterns. And I'm not saying this to make anybody have an excuse for habitually gaslighting anyone. I'm just saying our brain does work in patterns. Pathways in our brain develop where it's quicker to go to a certain response, which includes verbal responses. It's quicker to go certain responses than it is to others. So you might not necessarily know that, you might know there's another thing you could be saying, or you could quickly respond and not even think about that. But still, there's in your brain, there's a more prominent response that is you.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can see where people get, especially if nobody really warns you about a narcissist. Although I will say this, your friends and family that really cannot stand the person that you're seeing or dating or married to or whatever, listen to them. I know.
Oh yeah,
Listen to them. They know what they're talking about most of the time.
I just can say that nobody said anything to me in my first marriage. Nobody did. And then when I finally was like, one day I was finally like, what actually had to happen was we had to be separated physically for a while. And then I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't need this anymore in my life.
Right.
So 10 years with him. And when I'm telling people that I filed for divorce, they're like, oh, it's about time. We never liked him. And that wasn't just like two people. It was like a ton. And I'm like, why are we just now saying this? Thank you for helping me waste time. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to see it until somebody starts putting things out to you. So, I mean, and the thing with this, the hard to see when, until somebody points it out. In Micah's situation, I think we are continuing to hear and understand no one was really going to say anything to her because of the situation, because of their associations with JP, and out of fear, because there was definitely some fear there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if JP wants to talk about harassment, could Jesus please go slash his tires? Okay? Because
there needs to be a meme. Jesus slashing the tires. Like, this is not the guy that dressed up, but like the real Jesus.
I would like a band now named Jesus Slasher. Anyway, sorry. But no, I mean, really, like, he knows what terroristic threatening is. He's done it. He's just gotten away with it. So,
yeah.
You do have legitimate things to fear. And most people in situations like that will fear, when is he going to get worse?
Yeah.
It's always looming. It might not happen. Hopefully it doesn't. But, there is usually escalation, because people that are abusive usually are like, that wasn't enough to make them act exactly like I wanted them to act. So they let it go a little farther. Michael's young and in that church at a young age, and that culture was pervasive.
And it is, though, Laura, and I know, like, we're different when it comes to religion, but it's in the Christian church, and I understand on some. I'm not saying everything is wrong, but there is a lot of fear, okay? And it's different than rule keeping, okay? It's a lot of it is a form of control. Because, and here's the thing that I don't understand, that the church, because I've said I'm a Christian, unapologetic about it. However, I hate religion. I hate the religious system.
I'm glad you just said that, because I hate it when you say that.
Why?
Because I don't think that's what you actually mean.
What?
Okay, I think you hate religious organizations.
Yeah, that's what I call religion. Yes.
Okay. See, but I just was like, I want to say something about that, because I knew what you meant from hearing everything else in context, and this is why context is important always. But I'm like, I was just like, I cringed the first time I heard you say that, because I'm like, I hope nobody's misunderstanding her, because I know you just mean the organizational factor. And the problem is with that organizational factor is you're putting bureaucracy into spirituality.
Yes.
And that should not be a mix like that,
Yeah.
There is no giving of oneself in that situation.
Right. Well, when I say religion, I mean the set of rules, the set of man-made rules.
The doctrine.
The set of man-made rules that people have come up with, because, like, look, I mean, all the different denominations, like, we baptize this way, we baptize, look, whatever, okay? Build a church around it, I don't care. But those kind of things don't really bother me, but the whole structure and hierarchy it's power. It's about power.
Yes, it is.
And that is why I hate religion. I hate that man-made system. That's all it is.
Well,
it's a man-made system.
So my master's was in sociology. Actually, when I taught sociology, I would not talk about religion, because just being in the Bible Belt and them knowing that I was not Christian and stuff, it just didn't go well. It just was like, also, I usually ended up with like argumentative people in there. And so, yeah. I was just like,
Yeah.
we're just going to say this and we're going to move on. Let's do another chapter. But the thing that you're saying with what they're doing is it power. And what I see from a more outside perspective when I hear some sermons, if I'm observing or anything, or hear people talk about them, the aspect that I see is that it's being used as a social control.
Yes.
It's not being used to uplift people, to inspire people, to have help people grow. In these situations, it's a control. And I think that we could probably all think of a time where you heard somebody say maybe a specific Bible verse or misinterpret one, God forbid, and it was being used a certain way. And, I think that that's one of the things we're clearly seeing here is the sometimes misuse of, the Bible and context of religion.
Yeah. Well, and two, because here's the thing. Jesus set out a set of, I guess you could call it rules. It's not the same in the same way, but he set out some laws and he said, this is the way that you should live. But even Jesus does not come to your house and demand that you live like you do it out of love for him and wanting to follow him. There's a difference in a organization doing it as a means of control. Oh, you're not tithing? Well, you can't be a member here. You're not doing this. Like, Jesus doesn't say that. So why are we saying that? Jesus tells you how you should live. And it's actually a great way to live. And I mean, there's a difference. And I always use this example. I'm going to get off on a tangent because I still tell my daughter this.
You keep tangenting. I need water because I've got more than I have in days.
All right, you go ahead. Okay, so when my daughter was little, she was about 18 months old. We had a garbage can in the kitchen and it didn't have a lid on it. And in the top of the garbage can was a open can of green beans, but you know where you just take the can opener and you don't take the whole lid off and it's kind of just open and stick in there. Well, somebody had pushed the lid back in so you could stick your finger down in there, but those edges were sharp. So she's little, and for whatever reason, she got a bee in her bonnet, and she was just determined to go to play in the garbage and stick her hand, and I knew that green bean can was going to cut her finger. So me and her dad, we would yell at her, we'd give her a little pop on the bottom, not hurt her, just like, no, just, it was a tap. And of course, that didn't deter her at all. And we watched her go back and forth to the garbage can. Well, we're all in the kitchen. He and I were talking about something. And for that split second, she goes running back to the garbage, sticks her finger in the green bean can. And it's stuck and it's cutting and it's bleeding. And, she's screaming. I pull the can out too because I'm like, I don't know. Should I try to get the finger out of the can or is it going to be worse? So I'm trying to maneuver the lid. There's blood everywhere. She's screaming. I finally, I'm pushing the lid down. I'm trying to get her finger out and I can see the cuts are very, very deep. So I wrap it in a towel. The whole family jumps in the car. Thank goodness we lived close to the ER. We go, and she has to get her finger put back together, stitches, all that kind of stuff. And she was old enough to remember that. And Laura, to this day, when she, she's basically grown now, but for the last couple of years, whenever she's about to do something stupid, see, my reasoning for telling her don't play in the garbage and don't stick your hands in there was out of protection. Okay, don't do this, not because I'm going to be angry at you, but because I know what's going to happen when you stick your hands in the garbage. But, she and her little rebellion determined to do it anyway. So now there are a lot of times, and she knows exactly what I'm talking about. When she's talking about doing something stupid, and I give her all the reasons why she shouldn't do it, and like, this is a bad idea, this is what's going to happen. And, she'll argue and argue with me. Finally, I just look at her and I say, okay, go ahead, stick your hand in the green bin can. Just go ahead, go play in the garbage, because you're going to do it anyway. But there's a difference. It was out of love for her as a baby that even if I'm yelling at her, it's like, stay out of the garbage, Then just like, okay, this is a rule. I don't want you to touch the garbage can. And you are going to be, spanked and put to bed without supper if you touch the garbage can. You see, there's a difference in motivation. And I think that's the problem that I have with the man-made structure. It's out of control and not out of love in a lot of cases. Not all, but in a lot of cases.
It doesn't seem to be coming from the heart.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's concerning. I mean, the reason that I've actually really latched onto this, despite not being, involved in religion or anything, I see churches as a microcosm of society. So we have, whatever we have in the church that's going wrong, that's also part of society.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that is so much, church is so much part of their lives that what happens there, and think about it, what happens there, like kids growing up, they learn a lot from being in these situations. It's part of their socialization growing up. And at least down here, vacation Bible school all the time and stuff. Actually, my sister even went to that. It didn't matter. So you learn certain things from there. Like, they want you to have a moral structure from going to church. Also, if there's secrets happening there that aren't being addressed appropriately, then that's how it's also going to be handled by some of the same people in other situations in their lives. So,
right.
Not being trained on what to do when somebody's been touched or anything else by another pastor is not an excuse and should never be an excuse. So I know that a lot of the religious leaders, that obviously the ones that are attached to these cases, hate that this is all being talked about so much, because they think that they're being picked on and harassed. It's the woe is me thing, of course, but we need to, no harassment, but legitimate ways of bringing attention to these things so that it ebbs out. You had the secretiveness ebbing out in the past for so long. It's just now people are more connected with the internet, and we hear more of these situations, and they're not as easy to hide.
Right.
Fix the things in the church. Let it ebb out.
Yeah, but you again, when you have a hierarchy of people that want to cover, all right, because maybe this pastor is, really raking in the money for the organization, whatever. People like to twist and say, oh, they'll pick and choose the scriptures, and they'll say, okay, well, we forgive. How many times you forgive? 70 times 7 a day.
Yeah, I mean,
but it doesn't mean.
How many forgiveness tokens do I have for this week?
Well, let's see. Wait, 70 times 7 is 490. So, you get 490 a day. What is that? Somebody who does math. What's that times 7? That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't think I even need that many. But I don't know, maybe some days. But
I don't need that many.
But that's the thing, is that they want to say, okay, the Bible says this, but they don't take the whole thing, and nobody is holding them accountable, because
Well, isn't that
my
why
suspicion is they all have their own favorite sins and they don't want to get called out themselves. That's
well,
my opinion.
I have to jab at JP because obviously I'm going to harass him. When you have an independent church, you know, I mean, that kind of is, in this context, I'm not going to say it's always
Yeah.
suspicious, but in this context, it's
Yeah.
suspicious. But also, when you look at his dad and how many church names he had, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like some things like, you know, we're just going to sell this a different way and put a different name on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rebrand.
yeah, there's rebranding. Lots of
Mhm.
rebranding.
Yeah, and I mean, I know, because I've had this discussion with a lot of people, in organized, like the bigger denominations, and especially people who have made comments on my videos. But okay, I see the inherent danger of independent churches. I really, really do. If you don't have a good accountability structure and higher ups and district, and state leaders and stuff like that, yes, it can be a problem when you're running around. And I've seen a lot of abuse in independent churches. That being said, I've also seen a lot of abuse in the denominations for people who just they didn't want to get their hands dirty, okay? They maybe knew that something
Yeah.
was wrong, but they didn't want to take accountability for it.
They
And
did
so,
the not my problem thing.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's
So what's the
not
difference?
really any of these situations. I know there's church policies and whatnot, but legitimately, if there's something that happens in at the church and it's by outside laws illegal
Yeah.
or as abuse that needs to be reported, I just really think that people shouldn't just. I mean, it's an issue, and I know that it's not
Yeah.
everywhere, but anything that's there, it shouldn't be. Oh, let's run this past so and so first. It just needs to be automatic report. Automatic report.
Yeah. Let me show you. Let me stop sharing this one, because this is, I think, exactly what you were talking about. Oh no, we get further in here. Make sure. Yeah. Okay. So
Thank
this guy,
you.
is this the guy that you were talking about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. This pastor becomes the first person criminally charged in San Diego for allegedly
Oh, no.
failing to
No,
report.
it definitely wasn't him. I just remember that guy had like gray hair.
Okay.
Like
Nina,
he was
hush.
much older. But so I have to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
I know you probably are as a nurse. Are you a mandated reporter?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I was always a mandated reporter, and if nobody knows, it's like if you know something is suspicious and looks like abuse, you are required to report it. So I suspect nobody in church is a mandated reporter, since it's not like governed in that way.
Probably not in most churches. I
I'm just
don't
thinking,
think.
but
I don't think
I
so.
almost, it's like, I guess in my trying to make sense head, if you're going to be someone that's considered like not like a licensed counselor, but from my understanding, clergy is offers counseling if needed, but it's of course faith-based. So considering that, I really feel like there should be something there that makes them mandated or vital.
You would think. I mean, I don't know why. I'm trying to
I mean,
I'm
we know
trying to
there's
see what this
loopholes
one's
everywhere.
excuse was. Yeah.
What was his excuse?
That's what I'm trying to say, the quote. Because what happened is there was a 15-year-old girl who was assaulted by the church choir leader, but the pastor knew it and didn't report it. Um, let's see. I'm trying to find the exact quote in here. But, I mean, this is the pastor of the church.
I just don't
And
understand.
he got charged. I'm glad. I'm
I've
glad.
never heard of anybody charged.
Yeah.
Like
Eric Manuel Marino.
anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was, and it says if he's convicted, he faces up to 6 months in jail and $1,000 fine.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. Well, we call it easy, but he'll probably get out. I mean, come on, he's probably going to bond out. Nobody's going
Oh
to
yeah, I
keep him in
mean they'll be
there.
like, "Oh, community service. Oh, you want to do your community service at your
Yeah.
church? Okay, just have somebody sign."
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now this says he pleaded not guilty, but it says in California, I wish Yoli was back in here. In California, the mandated reporter law requires professionals deemed mandatory reporters. And this would be clergy members, along with teachers, doctors, social workers, police officers, and other professionals. Yeah.
I guess my thing is that the clergy that I worked with in the military, they all were ethical and moral enough to report things without having to be told.
Well, as they should be. As
Yeah,
this
I mean, it wasn't
pastor
an
should have
issue
been.
with any of them.
Yeah. Again, but here are the things, and here is my problem when it comes to Mica Miller and multiple people saying she was groomed from a young age by JP. How, Laura, do people in the church see something that they think is suspicious and they think that, maybe JP, they see all the signs that he's grooming her? And they don't say anything. Nobody stops him. I don't understand how. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. I'm like trying to think of a parallel situation that I might have looked at or counseled someone in, and I just parallel situation of a friend and her uncle, and it was just her mom didn't believe her. But if they're actually seeing it, though, like if there's like signs, that's different. Like I can't fathom not doing something. And like in that situation, if I was a church member in there, I would probably be uncomfortable talking to JP one-on-one. I wouldn't want to be anywhere talking to him alone. I wouldn't text him. I wouldn't let him have my phone number, okay? But I would go approach one of the other pastors,
I mean, but was there? But that's the thing is,
I mean, they probably were covering for him because they like to throw sprinklers on people, but
Well, the thing of it is when I read from the website, like early in the game, and I don't know what it says now, but when Solid Rock, I mean, it basically said if there's a problem, it said JP is like the final authority. So
I think that is the problem.
Yeah. If there's no checks and balances, and that's the thing, because I know you're not, especially when it comes to Southern Christianity, which is a whole different animal, in my opinion, than some other places. Especially when you go to a new church and you visit and you think, I really like this place. I'm going to come back. I think I'm going to join it. I feel at home. Everybody's so nice here. And, blah, blah, blah. You immediately the pastor comes and says hi, and he just asks you questions that you wouldn't think anything strange about. Like, hey, this is, I'm Pastor JP, whatever. What's your name? Yeah, are you, do you live around here? Do you work around here? And you end up telling them, oh, yeah, this is what I do for a living. And this is, yes, I live in the community or whatever. And so we get into this place of, we're not putting walls up. We're not saying, I don't know you that way.
Yourself to be vulnerable because you think it's a trusted, safe place.
Yes. So before you know it, the pastor does have your phone number. You fill out the little card that, they say, okay, we want to send you something, because that's usually how they track you.
Oh, yeah.
Visitors, they send you a little card saying, thank you. We, hope you come back, whatever. Mm-hmm. They have all your info, and we don't think anything of it because that's what they do, and we shouldn't have to worry about it.
Let's just be honest. You shouldn't have to think anything of it. It's the problem isn't giving your information to a congregation that you might end up being part of. The problem is the person misusing it.
Exactly. And you're not expecting that, and then before you know it, you have formed friendships and bonds with people in that community and that church, and you're on this committee and you're helping with this and that. Mm-hmm. You have friends, and it's harder to break away.
Yeah, because it's social ties.
Yeah. And you're not usually, it's not the kind of atmosphere. Like if you went to a secular ball game or something and you're watching Little League and you see some kind of questionable activity of a coach standing too close to a kid or something like that, but you're not really involved, you're just there as an observer, you're going to see that. Yeah. But when you are in a place, especially like you said, somewhere that's supposed to be safe, you're looking around and like, you feel horrible on the inside. If you're having a bad thought, like, oh, why is he standing so close to her? Why is he always putting his hand on her shoulder? So, you think you're the villain.
Let me propose an angle to you, and you tell me what you think. Okay. I do understand, like, the process of going, like, visiting church and, or as my friends would say, trying out churches and stuff.
Yeah, so, that's what it is.
Yes, they do introduce themselves. Just side note, there's like this, I can't remember the name of it. We actually went to a rock concert at this one biker church.
Mm-hmm.
Not like outlaw biker. It was.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And they were really cool. And it was just one of those places where they tried to have a more laid back atmosphere. So we went to this concert there, and it was all nice. And even there in this big ass place, a bunch of people running around, the pastor actually came and introduced himself to us.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go into a bunch of detail, but he was just like, if you want to come back some other time,
Right.
And you can probably look it up in Kentucky, but it was Pope John Paul, because he since has unalived himself after he was caught for, materials.
Oh, wow.
CP materials or whatever we call them now.
Wow.
Yeah. I was not surprised, honestly, but Mike was. So anyway, let me angle what you just said a little bit different. And I'm not aiming this technically, but nope, I am aiming this at JP. Never mind. It's JP. Okay, so like you were saying, you go. He introduces himself, to you. He asks you questions. The questions are seemingly benign,
Mm-hmm.
but he remembers them, right?
Right.
And he might kind of use it against you at some point in time, in some way. It might be manipulated. I don't know how all, but possibly. But in the meantime, you have JP with his charisma, right? Mm-hmm. And he's nice as can be, very welcoming. and, trying to get you to feel like part of what's going on, of course. Isn't Doesn't it seem almost like he's going to be grooming on a low level everyone, just for a different aspect?
I never really thought about it like that, but yeah.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But I almost feel like I can't put it past him to be like a predatory type into the
Yeah.
church.
Because for some people, it wouldn't be of a sexual nature. It would be like,
No, it
oh,
doesn't have
if
to
you're
be.
like money, like this person
Yeah.
has money connections, let me start grooming you now to be my friend and to join my church and pay your tithes and offerings
Because
here.
essentially, it seems like there's a lot of manipulation
Mm-hmm.
within
Yeah.
the context. So we also, especially that one pastor that worked there that spoke out, which he was a little suspicious in my opinion for reasons. I mean, it's, to me, it parallels grooming. It's probably not really grooming, but you're doing that like putting on the show and pulling people in thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, the part that I think hits that grooming part with me is the making people feel special, but with ill intentions.
Yeah, I think even I see the grooming aspect, and I also feel like there is, with every preacher, pastor, everywhere across the board, I think it is also a hint or a small part of used car salesmen. You know, uh, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
because
Is that they're
that
looking at you and they're thinking, okay, you can fill an empty seat in my church, and I can convince you to give, and even if you're not giving a lot of money, maybe we can get a lot of work out of you. Free labor.
and I think that that's where it's the also goes the not coming from the heart.
Yeah.
It's not coming from the heart. You're being pieced in, because I'm sure that there's people that have visited churches like this, if not JP's, and not been as welcomed
Yeah. Oh yeah.
in order to get them to where they don't want to come back. You know, I,
Yeah. I
I
just had
think,
a novel thought.
do
Go
tell.
ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, he's piecing things together to create a structure to support him. He's
Exactly.
not offering, I had the word. He's just not giving out of himself just for that person.
Right.
But you
He's,
understand what I'm saying? It's like,
yes.
you're creating this for yourself.
But I would also say that that is not just a JP problem. Having known multiple hundreds, thousands of pastors in my lifetime, either in a church that I attended or ones that I've just met, for whatever reason, I would say that that is not a JP problem. That is a pastor problem, that you're always sizing up. I'd say 99.9% of people, pastors, when they are meeting someone who is a potential new member of their congregation, they size them up as to whether they're a good fit, how well it could be advantageous for the church. Like, look, there was a time I'll just say this. It was a really bad time in my life. Okay. It was really, really bad. And, I purposely did something. I mean, it didn't hurt anybody, okay? I don't mean that, but
I'm not
purposely
judging
did
you.
something. I purposely did something that was not the brightest decision I ever made, okay? Relationship wise. And I knew it was going to cause trouble. And but I did it knowing it was going to cause trouble because I was just in the mood. Like, I'm sick of all of you and your religious games, and so let me do something that's going to really rock your world, and see what you do with me. Okay, because I'm done. Okay, that was my mindset. Not a good place. I do not recommend. However, this has been like almost 20 years ago. And so I got in a situation, and I knew what I did was not the best thing, but I happened to be serving on the worship team because I sing and I play the keyboard and all this stuff. And I thought, okay, they're going to kick me right off, as they should. As they should. I wouldn't have been mad at them if they had. But the pastor came to me and he gave me all these reasons why I'm forgiven, and I should still serve in that capacity. Okay, actually, I mean, it didn't matter to me, but in actuality, Laura, I should have been sat down and reprimanded, and I didn't even say I'm sorry for what I did. Like, I never told the pastor or anybody, I'm sorry. I know that was a mistake. I never never did. I was like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. But I'm sick of that. Let me push the limits. And I ended up, eventually I was sorry, not for anything that they said, but eventually I had a talk with Jesus myself, and I'm like, yeah, that was really boneheaded. And I was mad. I did it because I was mad, and I was sick of the games. But I was an asset. That was the point. I was an asset at that point. And they didn't want to lose their asset, so they gave me a lot of religious reasons why it was okay for me to continue to be on the worship team, when I'm like, yeah, I should be sat down for a while.
Yeah.
I knew that. And I feel like there is all this. So my novel idea was, and this is what never happens, but should happen. Okay, the Bible says that a pastor would lay down his life for his sheep. Okay, that's how much love and protection, and that is how dedicated a real shepherd lays down his life. As you know, actual shepherds do that. Like, a mountain lion comes out of the woods, they're going to fight, or a bear, they're going to fight the beast to save the sheep. And so that's what Jesus was given the analogy of. And, he is that protective. The pastor is supposed to be that protective. So if somebody, what would it be like, y'all, all of y'all in chat or who listen on replay, what would it be if you went to visit a church and, like, you're already having problems, probably because you're looking for a church, you need help. What would it be if the pastor looked at you and thought, this is a hot mess right here. Her and her husband, they're having major problems. They're going to need a lot of care. They're going to need a lot of counseling. And, they really can't contribute much. They've got 10 kids. They probably need a babysitter. These people are going to be a lot of work. And what if they said, okay, I want you to come in, and immediately off the bat, before asking for your tithes and offering, they said, how can we help you? We know you don't go here, but we want to get to know you. We want to come babysit your kids. Y'all sound like y'all having problems. You need to talk. Let's set up an appointment. That is the heart of somebody who wants to serve. Somebody who wants to get is looking for, what do you bring? Like you said, what do you bring to the church? Are you talented? Can we use you in music? Or can you watch the kids? Can you serve doing something else? Can you cook a meal? Like, what can you do for us?
In my head, when you started breaking it down, I've been smiling because the whole, what can you do, and such, I was just thinking in my head, JP is building his dream team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do. Because you also probably choose people that will cover up your lies too.
Yes, man.
So it's
Yeah,
sad.
it is. It is. And I mean, that is
I mean,
something I've never actually heard a pastor in my whole many years of being in church looking at a person and knowing the pastor, looking at the pastor and watching them say, okay, these people need help.
yeah,
Let's reach out and help them. And it's gonna be taxing on the rest of y'all because we're gonna need help too. But let's reach out and just love these people. Now I've known a few.
there's one here, and it happens to be the Latin. I think it's
Yeah, no, I know
Latinx.
what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I don't. It's like, well, when I said that, it just didn't. Something didn't sound right, but
Right.
it so happens to be the one right next to the community college.
But see,
they
that's
do
their culture.
outreach. Yeah, it's
But
outreach.
that's their culture.
Yeah.
So they would do that. We don't do that. We should do that, but we don't do that.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, nobody's ever told me they've had any experience like that of going
No.
in.
Because
I've
if
heard
you
more
bring
of what?
because if you bring up, you have a husband and wife, and they pull up in the church parking lot in an old raggedy car that's making a lot of noise, and you don't know how it even made it here, with 5 kids in the back seat, and they're fighting like cats and dogs in the front seat. Ain't nobody trying to run out there and say welcome.
No. This isn't silly, but it just makes me think of how, because I know that happens.
Yeah.
That people aren't turned away, but they're not necessarily encouraged.
Right. It's like, yeah.
And I mean, it even goes down to little things like when you go in somewhere and people won't make eye contact with you, or they'll do, like we always say, cut their eyes at you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The glances, but not the friendly glances, just the glances and then turn. And I mean, it's just the little nuances at times that is what happens and creates that culture.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're being fed the messages that you need to do more for this church and stuff, and you don't have the resources to help anybody else, then those cutting eyes happen more often than not.
Yeah, that's very true. And because it's easier when your church is a business and your church is on that order, it is much easier to, you've already slipped in Christianity with the whole premise, so it's easier to cover up sin. You want to keep everything nice and neat. You want to keep it like, look, it is what it is, and it's wrong. It's wrong. And this is why, one of the reasons, which I'm going to do a whole video about, why people are leaving churches in droves. I know why. Same reason I did.
I think, though, that because of the people that I know and been close to that were very committed in the past, I see that, honestly, once we had the pandemic and that they realized there was other ways to worship and they didn't have to be bound like that, that's changed a lot, at least
You're
for
right.
the people I grew up with. I don't know that any other, otherwise anybody else has changed about that, but I have noticed that is a big thing, that once that disconnect and they knew they could do it without actually being tethered. And it's been good for some people, honestly.
Yeah, I think it has. I think that it did a huge thing in making people understand a little bit more the difference between the real and the fake, because we accept, because we put a cross on the front of the building and we call somebody a pastor, we think that they're real. And a lot of times, a good majority of the times, they're not. And I think, people are looking for real. You can be a real mess, But
Hotness.
yeah. But if you're doing, like, you're really making efforts to change who you are and be real and be,
Well, I mean, I
then
think that there's a genuineness that can be found, and it seems that that's just gotten harder to detect. Or maybe people are too distracted to detect that because they have so much other stuff that they're looking at or going on with. So
yeah.
whenever I have like a concern about something that's really bothering me, I'll just be like, I used to would jump and ask questions and be on the attack, and now I just sit and have more patience and listen, unless it's obviously an urgent situation, and just like as things unfold, you see more, and this is one of those things though that overall it's there. Too much is seen.
Yeah. Let me just make a comment.
What happened?
And I don't even know if the person who commented earlier is still here. I'm not even going to say it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to address that I just banned somebody. Look, I just do not tolerate hate here, okay? You got beef with somebody, you take it out on the streets or you take it somewhere. You don't take it in my chat. That's not what we do here. You can say anything you want about me. I don't care. All right? Don't care. I'll probably laugh at it. But I do not. I'm not gonna. You're not gonna come in here and disrespect somebody, especially somebody who comes in a lot, or anybody. I don't even have to know who's in here. This ain't a place for drama in the chat. Okay, the devil is everywhere. All right, and you got beef. Go take it to the streets, will you? To the streets. All right. I am gonna wrap this up. Probably, even though I still have a lot. We didn't even get through all the effects.
Oh,
But that's okay.
Let's ask for comment though. Like, one of the things that we had really been wanting to talk more about and expand on is like how the effects of some sort of abuse, it's not just that little microcosm of, oh, they were abused, and then, because essentially that's how the church treats these things, at least what we're seeing is somebody was abused and let's move on, and disregarding victims and how they have ebbing effects. They
Yes.
grow up, it affects not just that time frame and not just that person. So if anybody has any comments or questions about that, maybe, or we should look at something, if you please, because otherwise my brain literally unfolds into so many things the minute I even like, I'm not joking, Silky. Like, I'm like, oh my God. Like, if I could show you a diagram of what's in my brain, we'd have like a whole block filled up now just with that topic.
Yeah, and most people always watch the replay. So if you have any questions for Laura or something that you want to talk about, you want us to expound on, yes, please put it in there, and so we can look at it, talk about it, whatever. I'm gonna leave you up here, Laura, for just a second. I just want to tell y'all, and I know you already know partially what I'm gonna say, but I said I would address this at the end. I mean, I and Laura's been my therapist this week.
Really? You were like the least needing therapy of anyone I talked to.
I told her at the beginning of the week, I am in a funk. I don't know what's wrong with me. I literally do not know why it's not like a regular depression. Like, nothing is going on in my life out of the norm. I mean, I have the normal people problems. I have the normal, it's been a rough week at work, but that happens a lot. I mean, it's hot. Things are expensive. I've got some things in my house that really need fixed badly. These are normal people problems, okay? I deal with this all the time. So the point is, I had no reason to feel like I was feeling like I couldn't even come and do a live. I had nothing in me that I wanted to talk about, even though there's a ton of things. And I felt like maybe, I felt like I'm really not effective, at least doing things the way that I am now. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, really, but part of some of the stuff I've been covering with true crime, all the pastors and all of the stuff now that has taken a toll on me, because I find that extremely heartbreaking, and it does bother me. It weighs heavy on me that this is the state of the church. But I don't want to be. I mean, look, I've found so much true crime in the church. Look, there's endless articles, endless things. Pastors that have been arrested or fallen from grace or whatever. And I don't have a problem with the channels that are like the gatekeeper types, or the people who are the advocates that call people out on their stuff. Fine. That doesn't bother me. I have no problem with them doing that. That's their thing. I don't want to be that thing. First of all, there are plenty of people doing it, and secondly, it takes too much out of me, and I don't see that as a vision. And I don't know. I think when I told you this morning, Laura, I think I know what's wrong. I feel like I'm just going into it's not like a darkness funk the way I thought it was. This is weird. Y'all are just gonna know this is my weird brain, all right? It feels more it doesn't feel like a place of darkness and depression. It feels like the darkness of a womb, where you hear, like where a baby can hear outside stuff, but you can't process it, and it's just like you're in this little place and you feel like it's not time yet, and you feel like there's just, I don't know, you're just germinating. You're just growing, and it's in quiet and with things that you can't process. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. Yes, there are things that make me angry. Could I talk about it every day? Yeah, but I'm not sure this is where I need to be. And so if I am not, I may do some videos. If I am not on Silky Southern as much or at all for a while, no, that's what, like, I'm doing a lot of praying, and I'm doing a lot of soul searching, and a lot of, what am I doing? Am I being effective? And am I doing it the right way? Because I don't really think, I feel like I'm regurgitating information that everybody else is putting out there. Y'all want to know about the Mica Miller case and all this stuff? There's a ton of channels that are covering it. I don't feel like I'm adding to that, if that makes any sense. And that I should, to put this much time in it. And I came on because I miss y'all. I appreciate y'all so much, especially the ones who email me and Discord me and Facebook message me and all that kind of stuff all the time. Like, look, I love y'all so much. And even the other people that come in my chat that I see all the time, like, I do miss you so much when you're not there. But I feel like I want this channel to mean more than what it is. Does that make sense to y'all? So I feel like I just wanted you to know I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. I wish I could say, oh, we're taking this direction. I have no idea. It's like I'm driving a car blindfolded. I don't know. But, yeah, I just wanted to say that because I really do appreciate you so much. And, if there's anything huge breaking or whatever, I will cover it. But for right now, I think I'm just going to stay in this place until I figure out what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Does that make sense, Laura?
Actually, that made a lot more sense the way you described it now than when you had messaged me a little bit. No, I'm not joking that that not necessarily the womb, but there's so much, but it's just difficult to pursue. And it's that's why I was kind of like, maybe you need to write stuff down and organize, because you have similar disorders to me.
Dude, that's why we get along so well.
I know. Oh my God. I'm sorry to say this now, but like, first of all, y'all don't know, but we had the same tattoo as well and did not know that. And then the other day when you said that you love the X-Men, I was like, because that's literally what 13-year-old Laura was reading and stuff.
Love X-Men.
I mean, I was old school comic books back in the day, but yeah, I feel like sometimes just there's like, there's so much because you are aware, it's not like you're blind to things that are going on, but also you spontaneously in your ADHD brain know the offshoots of that, and then the offshoots of that.
Yes, the whole picture.
It's like you legitimately just have to say, at some point you're like, there's so much. What do I do? And so same with me, that's usually when I don't make any decisions at all. But so it's a lot. And I did also want to tell you, because I'd heard these two other podcasters say one time, women, of course, because we're amazing. So they actually, their way is they have specific parameters on what they cover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this is just what they do, not anything for you. They want ones that have already been prosecuted and sentenced. They don't want to get involved. That's just their thing. They don't want to be involved in that. They want it later on. And then also they focus on marginalized people. There's several things that I know hit you in the heart. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, which thing? And honestly, you don't even have to do like just a parameter of what time, what aspects maybe, because there's so much, because you peel back one layer and another layer and another layer and another layer. And I don't think you're getting triggered or anything. I know that it's some things that are sensitive topics for you with this situation, the church stuff.
Yeah.
And that might help dictate some of the parameter.
Maybe. I mean, on one hand, I think maybe I should go after it full force. And the other part of me is like, I don't even know if, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like,
see, I know that the full force is tempting, but I feel like some of those rabbit holes, it's like when you're in it so far, it can get bad.
Yeah.
There's multiple reasons, and it can also just be mentally unhealthy at times for certain ones.
Yeah.
But, I always am like, what's in your heart to follow, because you're not here trying to have your own church and have tithing. So you're not trying to build any church here.
No.
You can go with your heart. But also there might be just little personal things that you and that might be okay, this because of whatever, fill in the blank. And that's why I don't how I've told you, I'm not going to talk about what you should do if you're being abused. I don't know. I have bad choices. So, just just things that guide you along to where you know what to do with it. But I'm going to go ahead. One important thing is because I know that this has been going on a little bit, not just a couple months, of the channel growth issue. And well, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly why. I have my suspicions because someone else that I watch that puts out content regularly, like you, and is female and covers mostly vulnerable type, not all strictly crime or anything, essays or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but usually vulnerable because that seems to be what speaks to her. She's also commented multiple times about the same growth problem.
Yeah. Well,
So,
there is something, and when it comes to true crime, most of the audience is women. And for whatever reason, and I'm sorry for, I don't mean to step on anybody's toes here, but I've seen it is very much a man dominated, and not that there are not a lot of true crime women, but usually they're more loud and abrasive, than I will ever be on camera. Don't catch me on the streets.
yeah.
But yeah, I won't do that. But I've seen so much, so many bad male creators that really talk down to their female audience. They're abusive to their audience. And then, like, I'm watching these lives, and these women that they have just, raked across the coals are donating money to them. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Well,
And I'm
obviously,
not even asking for donations. I'm just
they have
saying, what is
issues.
wrong with you?
Yeah, they have issues. I I know what you mean, and mostly that's people that I won't listen to anymore because I just can't. It just I
Right.
am very noise sensitive, and that just no. Also the abrasiveness. But I don't honestly see or remember any of those YouTubers, especially men, giving the depth that you give to your story, like what you
I
said.
don't think anybody cares about depth, though, honestly.
Well, apparently you do.
I
No,
do. Yeah.
I think people care about depth, but I mean, the only thing that I can think of is their appeal is that some people must be entertained by that in some way. I don't
Yeah.
find it entertaining whatsoever. I
I don't
find it
either.
ultimately overwhelmingly triggering and upsetting.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's kind of, maybe, I don't know. I will have to complete that thought because you see that my thoughts are stopping. They like go. And
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't, I mean, no, that's fine. I don't get it. And then I think, well, maybe either people don't care or I don't know. Either that they don't care or they just want to hear a man talk about it. I don't know. And it's not like I'm afraid to compete. I'm not. It's just I don't feel like I'm doing it. Maybe I'm just not presenting it the right way. Something is not right. And because literally I'm watching my other channel blow up and I'm like, it's entertainment.
it's
It's
entertaining.
entertainment. Yeah, that's
Um,
it.
Okay, so because I did watch your last couple that you just posted there, um, maybe your vibe's gotten a little too weighted down lately here because it is some really heavy stuff, and I would never say change how you express what about. I wouldn't say that, but I mean, I don't. That's all I can think of that's been different is you've been a little more weighted down with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it does. Well, the reason that it does Mica Miller and all the other ones, Robert Morris and all ad nauseum, all the other ones, is because it reflects exactly the way that, the church that I've recently started going back to, the church that I left a few years ago. And I didn't leave for any bad reasons. Look, I think they're a great group of people. I think they really care, et cetera, et cetera. Love them to death. I left because I felt like I reached the height of what I would be allowed to do there. And I just felt like it was time to move on. Didn't have a beef with anybody. Still love them.
I mean,
my daughter started going back.
There shouldn't be any reason to keep you, you should be allowed to freely do
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't, they were sad to see me go, but, I told them, hey, no beef. I'm not going to be here. And I'm resigning from all the many jobs that I had at that church. And, but it wasn't that they were doing anything wrong. It was like the whole temperature, the whole culture of the church, the way it is now. And here's the thing. I was already feeling like I needed to remove myself from the structure. And this is about 5 or 6 months before the pandemic hit. And then my daughter started going back, and look, she wants me to go, and she chose that church to go back to. And so when I'm off on Sundays, I go to the early service, and look, I love the people the same as the day that I left, and I don't find, major flaws with where I'm at, but it's still, it makes it hard because I am, in general, across the board, very unhappy with the state of the church. So that's why Mica Miller and all these other things are it was already a deep inner problem,
You have a history with this.
Yes. Yes.
We can't say that you had one experience that was bad. And, so it's weighing. Yeah. I'm not saying give it up or anything. I'm just saying it's weighing.
Yeah, that probably is a difference.
It really is a lot.
Thank you, Sherry Faye. I know you've told me before that I'm a good... But here's the thing. When I do stories, nobody watches them. Like my early ones, my first few videos, look, there were camera issues, makeup problems, all kind of stuff. But I tried to improve. I realized after I shot videos, like, look, it looks like I don't have any makeup on, or it's just like really bad. It's a whole different world. But here's the thing. Nobody is listening to the stories. So, and then I did something in going towards advocacy and just exposure for some of these cases was very much a passion of mine. So that's why I went in that direction. I don't know. I truly, though, believe that, God will show me what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, I left Avalon Cottage, my first channel, and then just did a what I considered just a whatever video, just to say hi to people. And that is what completely took off. I'm like, how did that even happen? I tried so hard to make videos that people would watch, and this was a fluke. And here I am. So I feel like maybe a little bit of distance. I mean, the best time I have ever had on Silky Southern was when I was in Nashville. And I was so tired, and we were hunting for Riley and then hunting for Sebastian, even though Sebastian is a hot mess. Really wish I hadn't ever touched that one. But just going, even, waking up with, just a couple of hours sleep and having to drive hours and, being tired, exhausted, you have to pee and you can't go anywhere. And I didn't know when I woke up in the morning, is this a work day? Is this a hunt day? Like, where am I and what am I doing today? It was so crazy, but I felt like it was very rewarding because I was hands-on doing something that potentially could have, been a great help if we had, found one of them. At least I was trying. And that was probably the most fun, definitely the most fun I've ever had with this channel. But
I I told
You know,
you
you
we could
can't do that every day.
I told you we could take the boat to North Carolina.
Hey, I think we should. I think we should go. And I think we should just get out there on the sidewalk and put down our beach towels and like a little transistor radio. Do they even make those anymore? And, you know, some
We could buy
sunscreen.
one.
And let's just sit there with the protest. Could you put that sprinkler over this way? I'm hot. Thanks.
Oh my god. Nerf guns. Or
There you
water
go.
blasters too. Sorry.
Oh, that would be fun.
I'm horrible.
But yeah.
Like, I ruin every situation with something silly anyway. So.
It sounds like a bunch of fun. It really does. But anyway, I just wanted to let y'all know.
A lot to think about. That's all.
I do. And I feel like at some point, whether it's tomorrow or next week or 6 months down the road, I don't know. I mean, I know I'll do some shows with Brain Bungler. But look, I just feel like that God will show me. And it might be a fluke like the other channel. It's like, who knew?
And then people might just have something randomly happen and they change what they're looking at is the other thing. I just really think that the flow is just other things going on too.
It could be. But I definitely feel like that I don't know. I either need to approach it in a whole different way or change the whole subject. I don't know. Definitely, you know, if there is some earth-shattering news, I will probably cover it. Maybe. There's a lot of great creators that I love to watch. I don't watch all their stuff, but I watch some of their stuff. And, you know, certainly it's out there. But I just wanted y'all to know kind of where I'm at and why I might not be on here as often. But like I said, if you want to be entertained with true ghost stories sent in by subscribers, then go to Avalon Cottage. And,
oh my God. Hector the Spectre.
I know, right? Hector the Spectre.
I was rolling. I meant to comment, and then I was too busy like moving stuff around. I was done. That was so funny.
I know. It was when I saw that comment, I was like, oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Yeah.
That was the best.
And I feel like that sometimes people do reach out to me, even on that channel, that are having problems. And, you know, what is this? You know. And so, you know, look, I feel like people want to reach out. They can reach out to me any which way. But I don't know. For here.
I was going to ask you something, actually. And this is real quick.
Okay.
I had thought, I know Discord's kind of died. But I had thought about asking you if I could do like a subset in there and being like Silky safe space.
Sure.
But to be like not like mental health stuff necessarily. I mean, if anybody wants to talk about that, they can. But just to be like a subset of the, you know, the group just being,
yeah,
we could share recipes. We could talk about other stuff. Just, it doesn't have to be crime related, but just some of us have a lot in common, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's just, I was thinking about doing that sometime, but also where if anybody has questions and needs a resource.
I can set you up a whole tab in Discord and I can call it Laura's Safe Space.
You can, but I just thought Silky Safe Space. Silky Safe Space, but by Laura.
By Laura from the basement. Laura's Crime Cafe. Whatever. All right. I'm going to let y'all all go. I know it's been a long one, but just some things. I'm so thankful for you being here, Laura. Not only to talk about the case tonight, but listening to
we have other things we could talk about, but I am forever thankful for you. And I don't think I've told everybody else this, but like, I didn't start being able to express myself and have confidence in myself again until I started interacting with you more and seeing you speak out. And I'm going to cry, so I'm done.
Okay.
Just, like, it, you know, it's not like we're having phone calls or anything. We talk on Discord stuff and then this, but like, just because I know that you have been through so much, and I always felt like I would never get better
Aw.
because I wasn't getting better. Because
Aw.
I didn't know that I could, because I didn't see anybody that was a survivor. So it's been hard for me just because of that, because I didn't have the hope that I have now. So
Aw, you're gonna make me cry.
I'm sorry. I have to stop crying. My husband's coming down and he'll start crying.
Well, we don't want. I don't want to see a
Hi,
man cry.
Mythical.
Yeah, hey, Mythical. All right. Well, I appreciate you. I'm glad. Look, that makes it all worth it. Look, you know, when somebody actually, you know, says that I've made a difference, it makes it worth it because, you know, it certainly ain't money from YouTube. I mean, like, no, it's not. But you know, it's like that is the whole point. Is you do so much research and you put, you know, it's a lot of expense, you know, just on the monthly and
But
and then the time. It's like when it makes it worth it, Laura, when somebody says you've really.
I can understand that, and I think it's the best part of it is because it was just you being you is the thing. You know, you didn't have the agenda of doing something. You were just being you. And that's the best part of this. So now we're all crying.
Now we're all crying.
Hi, Mythical.
Yeah, Mythical, you came in on the cry part. I really, really appreciate you all. I do. I do. I miss you. So, like, look, I may come on here and just do a live and without anything, without anything to say, and just saying, hey, how y'all doing? What's up? What's your life? What's going on in your life? Because I think at this point, that's the part that means the most to me. It's just you all, and knowing that maybe we do have a safe space sometimes, right? All right, I gotta get off here because I'm crying. I love you all.
Bye.
Y'all stay silky. Bye bye.